This is the last demo in the series of videos for how to draw different parts of the project in Information and Communication module. The demo today is for the last sheet in the project, and it's about how to draw an axonometric view. For details about different types of axonometric views, please refer back to the notes. What I'm showing here today are just two examples of how axonometric view looks like depending which angle you adopt as a basis. So on the right we have a 45-degree angle, and on the left it's 30-degree on both sides. So you can see that this looks a bit more natural, and the one on the right actually preserves the qualities of the floor plan. So it's basically, it remains at 40, it remains at a right angle. So it's only rotated at 45 degrees, and then all the walls are being raised vertically. Because we're using the scale 1 to 100, and because these plans preserve their qualities, you can still measure components off of them. For this example, I'm gonna just refer to this 45 and redo the 45-degree axonometric view, but whichever you choose, even if you choose 30 and 60-degree, the principle of drawing the axonometric view remains the same. So the first thing I do here is mark the beginning of my axonometric view. And what I'm going to do first is basically just transfer this outline of the floor plan onto the axonometric view, and then look into raising some of the points vertically. So given that I already have all the dimensions, so the first thing I do is basically just mark the vertical line. So most of the components in the axonometric view will follow this vertical marker or 45 degrees. So anything that is right angle, at a right angle on the floor plans will follow these 45-degree lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to transfer the floor plan, and I'm going to do a very faint outline of the dimensions. So what I'm doing here is basically just marking these points in the plan, and then draw it basically in a rotated fashion here. Everything again I'm doing in very faint lines, and I'm going to be making them much stronger once I have done everything correctly. So these are my points. So now I can just draw some parallel lines. And now I just need the wall that is pushed back. So I'm just going to mark these 2 points, which are pushed 1.85 in my case. And I will have my floor outline done. So this is now basically my outline of the floor plan. What I can do is I can start raising these wall points up. Before I do that, I'm going to first resolve the roof and identify these points as well, because all the walls are hiding under the roof. So drawing the roof first will be easier for me than just to push the walls up to the roof point. The thing with the roof is because it extends a little bit outside the walls, I did something here to make it easier for me, is that with the dashed line I outlined where this roof kind of projects on these floor plans. So basically what I'm going to do next is add these projected points where the roof comes above. So basically I'm doing these points and projecting them onto the floor. So the first thing I'm going to do is just resolve this roof line that it's on the southern side. So as you remember before, in my case the roof overhangs and goes about 1 meter from the wall. So what I'm going to do is just lightly mark these points, and then on the sides I do have a little bit that extends, so I'm just going to mark those as well. So now I have the 4 points of the roof on the lower part of the roof. I'm going to do the same thing for the northern part of the house. So on the northern part, my roof extends 50 centimeters, which I see on the section, which I'm not going to show here. So 50 centimeters, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just lightly mark those points here, and then again, just lightly extend by the side of the walls, which in my case is about 10-15 centimeters. And then the last thing I need to do is just get these 2 points on this end, and then I'll be able to raise the roof. So again, over this wall, external line wall, I have the roof extend as well for 1 meter. So I'm just going to mark those points as well. And now I also have 4 points of the other roof. This means that I have the roof projected, all 4 points of the lower and upper roof projected now on this rotated floor plan. So what I'm going to start doing is just raising those points vertically and giving it heights, and then I'm going to start connecting them. So the lowest points here, whether you're looking at an elevation or a section, is 175 in my case. So just translate the dimension that it's in your case. So I'm just going to make the lines parallel to the main vertical line, and then I'm going to measure 175, which is about here, and then I'm going to do same thing here. So I'm just going to draw and now I have information to just draw the first line of the roof that is visible. So again, I can see a little bit of the roof thickness, so I'm just going to give it that thickness. And you will have to pardon that I'm doing some of this kind of like eyeballing it for the purpose of saving time. The next point I'm going to define here is this point that I have available, which is the upper point of the lower roof. In my case, that's 405. So I'm just going to measure 4.05 from this point. So I'm just going to draw vertically and then measure 405. So that's the top line. So I'm just going to draw it and connect it to this point of the lower roof. Give it again thickness, drawing parallel line to this point. And here is my left side of the roof. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mark this parallel line and then also push the same parallel line on the right side. And here is my upper roof, lower roof, the roof over the ground floor. I'm going to do the same thing for the roof above the first floor. So I'm going to do the same thing and raise these points to their height. So I have this point of the roof that measures at 365 height. So again, I'm going to start with that, and I'm just going to put the vertical one. I'm also going to raise this one right away, this one, and this part of the roof. So I started with the lower end, and that's 365. And then I also have this point of the upper point of the roof, which sits at 575, so I can measure that as well. So the one that intersects here, which is at 575. So now I have this part of the roof as well. And again, I'm going to draw just the thickness of it. And now I can do the same thing and just draw a parallel line to this vertical bit, and also from here to this vertical bit. Give it again thickness, and then these lines should remain parallel. So here's my upper roof that it's done. The next thing, so now it's easier that I can just go back to my floor plan points and just raise those vertically. So I have, so let's start with that. So I already have all points of the floor plan. So what I'm going to do is just raise the walls. So you can see, because of the angle and because of the roof overhang, my portion of the wall is not as visible, but that's fine. So this is basically 90% of the work done. So I have my house in 3D. What is left to do is basically add these bits of components. So basically just transferring the windows as they are visible onto these parts of the walls. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mark these on the lower end, but you will do the same thing for the ones on the upper. Any windows on the sides that you can transfer. And once you have all the components left, what you can do is do hatching if you wish so. So again, I'm just going to transfer these dimensions off the floor plan. So I'm just going to mark where my window openings are. And again, I'm just reading that off of floor plans. So what I can do, just give it a bit of a depth. So I'm just going to make these double lines. Again, give it a bit three-dimensionality. And again, I have this bit of the wall that comes down below the floor level, so I will just add that as well. And that's 50 centimeters. So I'm just going to mark it here. and do another parallel line. And then depends if you have any slope, you can measure of how much you have ground visible from this end. So that's basically that. I'm not going to go into detail about adding windows here. This should give you enough information about finishing the axonometric view so you can see that it's fairly fast.